Hello there, and welcome to Deep Space Sleep. I'm so glad you're here tonight. Before cities, before mountains in their modern shapes, before the first human ever opened their eyes, the world was a quiet, ancient garden. Fern forests swayed in warm breezes, cicadas of a forgotten age hummed softly, and enormous creatures walked the earth with steps far gentler than the stories ever told. Their world was green, humid, slow, a place where time moved like drifting mist, and every breath of wind carried the scent of ancient leaves. Dinosaurs lived not in chaos, but in rhythm, waking with warm suns, moving through soft valleys, wandering beneath towering conifers. They were part of an earth that was peaceful and breathing, wrapped in thick air and filtered light. The giant sauropods moved like calm rivers. Small, feathered dinosaurs darted like drifting birds. Even the quiet predators padded through forests on footsteps so soft they barely left a sound. Their world was alive, but never hurried. Tonight, we're going to drift back into that world, not the dramatic one from movies, but the real one, lush, warm, slow, filled with the gentle movements of creatures simply living their days. We'll walk through fern-covered valleys, listen to the distant rumble of thunder over sandstone hills, follow the prints left by small dinosaurs at dawn, and feel the steady heartbeat of an ancient Earth long before humans. As we begin this journey, I'd love to know where you're listening from tonight and what time it is where you are. Your words help other travelers find this quiet space, and they help build a small community of people who drift to sleep beneath the same sky. So for now, let your shoulders soften, let your breath slow, and let the ancient world rise gently around you. Let's begin. The earliest dinosaurs were small, delicate creatures that moved through their world with surprising lightness. Unlike the towering giants that would come later, these first species were no larger than a modern dog, stepping through soft soil and fern beds with quiet curiosity. Their bones were thin, their bodies agile, and their presence gentle against the vast stillness of the Triassic landscape. They lived among insects, ancient reptiles, and low forest plants, blending almost seamlessly into the warm air and filtered light. When they walked, the ground barely acknowledged their weight, and when they paused, they listened to a world that was still forming around them. These early dinosaurs lived simple, peaceful lives, exploring a planet that was waking slowly from geological upheaval. In their smallness, there was softness, and in their quiet steps, the beginning of a story that would one day reshape the entire Earth. During the Triassic period, Earth's climate was warm, steady, and gentle, like a long sunrise stretching across millions of years. There were no icy poles, no harsh seasonal changes, only a soft blanket of heat that wrapped the planet in a calm and humid atmosphere. Days were long and bright, and nights were mild, allowing plants and animals to thrive without sudden shifts in temperature. This warmth created a world where life unfolded slowly, giving early dinosaurs the perfect environment to grow, explore, and adapt. Fern forests expanded, lakes shimmered under the sun, and warm breezes carried the scent of ancient resin and damp leaves. The air felt thick but comforting, like the first breath after rain. In this steady climate, creatures did not need to rush. They moved through landscapes that felt timeless, shaped by quiet winds and slow rivers. The Triassic world was not dramatic but serene, A gentle beginning for the age of dinosaurs. Fern forests covered the ground like soft, living carpets, creating a lush green world that stretched beneath towering conifers and ancient cycads. These ferns were some of Earth's oldest plants, spreading their delicate fronds across riverbanks, valley floors, and open clearings. When the wind moved through them, they swayed like long, feathered waves, rustling softly in the warm Triassic air. Early dinosaurs walked among them carefully, their small feet brushing across the cool, damp leaves. Ferns provided shade, shelter, and moisture, forming the gentle backdrop for nearly all early dinosaur life. Even the light filtering through their fronds felt softened, casting the ground in shifting patterns of green. This dense fern cover muffled footsteps and softened the landscape, making the ancient world feel like a quiet garden. In these forests, life moved slowly and peacefully, and the earth breathed a warm, ancient rhythm that supported creatures just beginning their long evolutionary journey. The first dinosaurs stepped lightly on damp, earthy ground that had only recently cooled from ancient upheaval. Their movements were quiet, almost cautious, as they walked across soil rich with moisture from warm rains and slow rivers. Each step left a faint impression that was quickly softened by the springy carpet of ferns and moss. The ground itself held the warmth of the sun, releasing it gently at dusk, creating a soft cushion beneath their small feet. These early dinosaurs explored their world at a relaxed pace, pausing to sniff the air, listen to distant rustles, or inspect fallen leaves. Their presence did not disturb the land. Instead, they became part of its rhythm, moving with the same slow calm that shaped the Triassic landscape. In the quiet hours of dawn and dusk, their silhouettes crossed the damp earth like fleeting shadows, peaceful and unhurried, marking the beginning of an age that would one day become legendary. The atmosphere of the Triassic was rich in carbon dioxide, creating a warm embrace that fueled lush plant growth across the planet. Ferns, horsetails, and early conifers flourished in this nutrient-rich air, their leaves spreading wide to catch the generous sunlight. This abundance of plant life formed dense green canopies and thick undergrowth that sheltered early dinosaurs as they wandered through their world. The high CO2 levels made the air feel heavier, but also more nurturing, allowing forests to expand faster and wider than in many later eras. Plants grew tall and soft, their colors deep and vibrant, offering food and shelter for small herbivores learning to navigate the ancient landscape. This atmosphere was not harsh but supportive, a gentle greenhouse that held warmth through the nights and created a stable environment for life to flourish. In this soft, humid air, dinosaurs found a world full of nourishment, safety, and quiet growth. Despite how dramatic ancient Earth is often portrayed, the world of the early Triassic was far more peaceful than most imagine. The planet had already passed through violent volcanic eras and shifting continents, but by the time the first dinosaurs appeared, much of that chaos had settled into quiet stability. Rivers flowed steadily through fern-covered valleys. Warm breezes moved lazily through conifer forests. The skies were wide and soft, painted with gentle clouds drifting slowly across long afternoons. Life did not rush, it unfolded. Even predators moved calmly, conserving energy in the warm air. The mornings were calm, the evenings mild, and the nights wrapped the land in a steady warmth that made survival easier. This tranquil environment offered early dinosaurs a safe cradle in which to grow explore, and adapt. The Earth felt young, but it also felt calm, holding its breath in a long, peaceful moment before the rise of the giants. Days during the Triassic were long and bright, while nights remained warm and welcoming, creating conditions that nurtured early life with surprising gentleness. Without extreme seasonal changes or harsh cold, plants had abundant time to grow, spread, and regenerate. Animals benefited from this steady climate as well. They could forage without fear of freezing nights or sudden storms. The warmth lingered through dusk and into the dark hours, wrapping the land in a soft blanket that allowed small creatures to remain active and safe. This constant mildness helped early dinosaurs and other reptiles conserve energy, grow steadily, and adapt gradually to their surroundings. The long daylight hours gave plants more sun to absorb, strengthening entire ecosystems. In this balanced world, life was not forced to rush or hide. It breathed, stretched, and quietly expanded, shaped by the soft rhythm of days and nights that felt almost endless. The ancient reptiles that lived alongside the earliest dinosaurs were far from the gigantic beings we often picture today. Many were small, light-footed, and gentle in their movements, blending easily into the soft undergrowth of the Triassic forests. Some were no larger than modern lizards, while others reached the size of small dogs or foxes. Their sleek bodies allowed them to navigate dense ferns and warm riverbanks with ease. Instead of dominating the landscape, they lived simple lives, basking in sunlight, hunting insects, and exploring shaded paths beneath towering conifers. Even the larger species moved with a quiet caution, conserving energy in the warm air and avoiding unnecessary conflict. This prehistoric world was not yet one of titans. It was a landscape of humble creatures learning to live, adapt, and coexist. In their smallness, they paved the way for the remarkable diversity that would eventually flourish across the Mesozoic. Evolution during this early era moved at a pace so slow and gentle that, if you could watch it unfold, it would feel like observing the planet breathe. Changes happened over millions of years, not in dramatic leaps, but in soft adjustments, slightly longer limbs, lighter bones, more efficient steps. These transformations were subtle, quiet responses to the warm environment, plentiful vegetation, and steady climate. Early dinosaurs did not suddenly appear as giants. They gradually grew into their forms as nature experimented carefully with each new adaptation. The world around them shifted just as slowly. Forests expanded inch by inch. Rivers culled deeper paths, and coastlines adjusted with time. Evolution was a calm sculptor in this age, shaping life with patience rather than urgency. Each shift in biology was as delicate as the turning of a season, as soft as breath moving through a sleeping world. Every new species that emerged during the Triassic felt like a gentle addition to nature's slow, thoughtful rhythm. Life expanded not through sudden explosions, but through quiet experiments carried out over ages. A new shape of limb here, a lighter rib cage there, a slightly different jaw or tail. Each trait arrived softly, becoming part of the living tapestry in its own time. These creatures did not disrupt the world when they appeared. They slipped into it, finding their places among ferns, rivers, and warm breezes. Each species contributed to the evolving balance of the ecosystem, offering new patterns of movement, feeding, or sheltering. Their arrival echoed the calm tempo of the ancient Earth itself, where change was steady but never rushed. In these quiet beginnings, The foundations of future giants were laid with tenderness. Life grew, step by gentle step, into the age of dinosaurs that would soon rise. And from these quiet beginnings, dinosaurs slowly grew. Sauropods fed on leaves with a gentleness that seemed almost impossible for creatures of their size. Their massive bodies moved slowly through ancient forests, and when they reached for food, it was with the calm precision of a quiet mechanical crane. They plucked soft fronds and high-growing branches using their long necks and careful mouths, barely disturbing the plants around them. Despite towering over nearly every other creature, sauropods behaved with steady patience, spending most of their days grazing peacefully beneath warm, mist-filled canopies. Their size was immense, yet their actions were slow, measured, and surprisingly graceful. They lived not as roaring giants, but as gentle stewards of the Jurassic landscape, shaping forests through quiet feeding patterns. Watching them move through the trees would have felt like observing living mountains drifting effortlessly through a green, ancient world. The long necks of sauropods allowed them to reach distant branches without needing to take more than a few steps. This unique design made their movements appear calm and deliberate, as if they were stretching toward the sky rather than simply feeding. Their necks swayed gently with each breath, rising and lowering like slow tides in a prehistoric sea of leaves. This ability to feed widely without relocating saved energy and reduced the need for hurried motion. Instead, they could stand in one place, surrounded by soft ferns and towering conifers, simply turning their heads to reach new clusters of vegetation. The long curve of their necks cast narrow shadows across the forest floor, giving them a quiet, élégant présence. This graceful reach helped create a peaceful rhythm to their days, a slow cycle of stretching, chewing, and resting beneath the warm Jurassic sun. The footsteps of sauropods were deep and resonant, yet incredibly steady. Each step pressed into the earth with the weight of a moving hill. But the rhythm was calm, measured, and surprisingly consistent. Their massive padded feet softened the impact, turning what could have been thunderous crashes into gentle thumps that echoed softly through the misty forests. These sounds would have blended with distant wind and flowing water, becoming part of the natural music of the Jurassic. When herds of sauropods moved together, their steps created a slow, almost meditative beat, like an ancient drum played at the edge of time. This steady pace reflected their peaceful lifestyle. They did not rush, did not chase, did not flee. They simply wandered, grazing and traveling in a patient harmony with the landscape. Their footsteps carried not danger, but calm continuity. The Jurassic atmosphere was thick with warm humidity, creating a world that felt like a vast greenhouse wrapped in soft light. Moisture clung to the air, giving forests a hazy glow at dawn and dusk. This humid climate nurtured the enormous plants that fed the giants of the era, and the air itself felt gentle on skin, warm but not harsh. Rain fell often, but lightly, keeping the ground lush and the leaves glistening. Mists rolled across valleys like drifting silk, softening the edges of trees and hills. Breathing in the Jurassic would have felt like inhaling warm, living air heavy with the scent of resin, damp earth, and ancient greenery. This gentle humidity wrapped the entire world in a slow, restful atmosphere where life thrived without urgency. It was a climate perfectly suited for enormous but peaceful creatures to wander in quiet comfort. Ancient conifer forests towered above the Jurassic landscape, their branches coated each morning with delicate layers of dew. These massive trees rose like pillars, holding up a soft, filtered canopy that lets sunlight spill through in gentle, silvery beams. The moisture caught on their needles sparkled faintly, giving the woods a dreamlike glow during early hours. Beneath these towering giants, the forest floor stayed cool and shaded, creating a natural sanctuary for dinosaurs seeking calm refuge. The scent of conifer sap drifted through the warm air, blending with the faint aroma of damp soil. These trees stood silent and steady for centuries, their presence shaping the rhythm of life around them. Within these mist-covered groves, even the largest dinosaurs appeared, softened, moving slowly among trunks that had witnessed countless dawns in an ancient, peaceful world. A sauropod's head movement was astonishingly gentle for an animal of such great size. At the end of its long, sweeping neck, the head behaved almost like a delicate ornament, light, precise, and graceful. When a sauropod tilted its head to inspect a branch or choose a cluster of leaves, the motion seemed slow and thoughtful, as though it was carefully considering each bite. Despite the massive muscles and bones supporting that neck, the final motion was controlled with surprising softness. It could lower its head to drink from a shallow stream without disturbing the water, or turn to observe a sound in the forest with the calm curiosity of a creature completely at peace in its world. This gentle tilt added to the serene presence sauropods carried through the Jurassic landscape, reinforcing that even the largest animals can move with feather-soft elegance. Herds of sauropods moved across the Jurassic world like slow-flowing rivers of living stone. Their long necks swayed gently in unison, and their massive bodies followed one another in patient, winding lines. From a distance, the group seemed to drift rather than walk, each individual aligning with the rhythm of the herd. They traveled together, not out of haste, but out of instinctive comfort, creating a sense of calm wherever they passed. Dust rose softly beneath their feet, settling quickly in the still, humide air. Their shadows stretched across fields and fern forests like a moving tapestry of gentle giants. Within the herd's flow, smaller dinosaurs found quiet paths to follow, weaving between legs like fish swimming in a warm current. The movement of a sauropod herd was one of the most peaceful sights the ancient Earth ever knew, a drifting tide of life crossing a timeless landscape. The body of a sauropod was a masterpiece of natural architecture, designed with a balance so perfect it allowed unimaginable size to exist with surprising grace. Every part of its frame served a purpose, hollow bones reducing weight, powerful limbs positioned like sturdy pillars, and a long tail acting as a counterbalance to the neck. From the side, the silhouette of a sauropod looked almost engineered, a smooth arc from head to hips, a gentle slope back to the tail's tapering end. This design enabled slow, energy-efficient movement across vast environments without strain. The symmetry of their bodies created a visual harmony with the surrounding landscape, as if they were extensions of the land itself, moving hills shaped by time. Watching one walk through a misty conifer forest would have felt like witnessing architecture in motion, a quiet structure gliding through sunlight and shadow. A sauropod's large, padded feet played a crucial role in the softness of its movement. Each foot was wide and cushioned, spreading its enormous weight evenly across the ground so that every step landed with a muted thump rather than a heavy crash. These natural shock absorbers helped protect their joints and also prevented the earth from shaking under their weight, allowing them to walk with surprising stealth for such giant creatures even when entire herds traveled together. The impact remained gentle, more like distant drums under thick soil than anything forceful or frightening. These broad feet allowed them to traverse soft mud, sand, and forest floors without sinking deeply or disturbing delicate plant life. The result was movement that felt almost impossibly quiet, creating an impression of gentle giants gliding rather than stomping through their world. For creatures of such colossal size, sauropods lived remarkably peaceful lives, centered largely around the simple act of eating leaves. They spent most of their waking hours browsing calmly through forests, using their long necks to reach fresh greenery without needing to roam far. Their slow chewing, steady breathing, and patient feeding created a kind of quiet rhythm that defined their days. They did not hunt, chase, or rush. They simply consumed vast amounts of vegetation in a serene, unhurried cycle. This lifestyle, though immense in scale, was gentle in nature, more like the grazing of giant, slow-moving cattle than the dramatic imagery often associated with dinosaurs. In the warm, humid air of the Jurassic, sauropods existed in a state of near constant calm, their world shaped not by conflict, but by peaceful, steady nourishment amid forests older than memory. Small ornithischians moved across the prehistoric landscape with a light, bird-like quickness that made their presence feel almost playful. Their bodies were compact, their legs agile, and their motions as swift and delicate as sparrows darting through tall grass. When they ran, they leaned forward slightly, tails held straight behind them for balance, giving each stride a smooth, gliding quality. They wove between ferns, hopped over roots, and zigzagged through low shrubs with effortless precision. Their small size allowed them to slip quietly through dense vegetation without bending branches or disturbing the forest floor. From a distance, their movements might have looked like ripples of motion rather than individual animals. Despite living in a world of giants, these tiny dinosaurs carried an energy that felt gentle rather than frantic, a soft, lively spark in an ancient, warm landscape. Many small dinosaurs were covered in delicate fuzz, a soft, downy layer that insulated their bodies and gave them an appearance almost like tiny, prehistoric chicks. This feather-like coating, sometimes colorful, sometimes muted, added a tender gentleness to their silhouette. When the early morning sun filtered through the canopy, their fine filaments caught the light in subtle glimmers, making them look as though they were wrapped in a thin blanket of warmth. This fuzz kept them comfortable in cooler forest shadows or breezy open fields. It also softened their movements, brushing gently against leaves as they passed, leaving behind faint whispers rather than marks. Watching these little creatures scamper through ancient undergrowth would have felt like witnessing living fluff drift across the forest floor, light, warm, and impossibly endearing in a world otherwise dominated by giants. Their diet consisted mainly of berries, seeds, tender leaves, and small fruits, foods that required no force, no competition, and no dramatic behavior to obtain. These soft plant foods were abundant in the Mesozoic forests, allowing small dinosaurs to nibble peacefully throughout the day. They picked at fallen fruit beneath conifer branches, dug lightly in the soil for seeds, or stretched up to pluck delicate leaves from low shrubs. Eating was a slow, gentle act for them, accompanied by soft jaw movements and careful bites. Their small teeth were perfect for this kind of feeding, simple, efficient, and suited for a quiet life. Because their food sources were scattered and plentiful, they rarely had to fight or compete. adding to the sense of harmony in their daily routines. Their world was one of soft textures and small flavors, a peaceful rhythm of grazing woven into the ancient landscape. The footsteps of small dinosaurs were so light and delicate that they often passed through the forest without making a sound. Their tiny, narrow toes pressed gently into the soil, barely disturbing loose dirt or fallen leaves. In the warm, humid Jurassic air, where ferns cushioned the ground and moss grew thick along tree roots, their movements became nearly silent. Even when they ran, their steps felt more like soft taps than impacts. Blending seamlessly with the natural hush of the forest, predators could miss them entirely unless they looked closely, because the faint impressions they left behind disappeared quickly under new layers of fallen foliage. This quiet presence allowed them to move freely and safely among giants, slipping unnoticed between shadows. In a world full of massive, weighty creatures, these small dinosaurs added a subtle, almost musical quietness to the ancient Earth. Many small dinosaurs lived in groups, forming social clusters that resembled flocks of modern birds. Moving together gave them safety, warmth, and companionship in a world filled with much larger animals. In these groups, individuals communicated through soft chirps, nods, and subtle movements, creating a sense of coordinated harmony. They foraged side by side, sharing patches of berries or leaves, and often rested together beneath sheltered trees. Their group motion was smooth and synchronized. When one shifted direction, the others followed in a fluid wave, like a flock of small creatures flowing across the landscape. Living this way allowed them to be alert without feeling afraid, supported without feeling crowded. This gentle social structure added a charming warmth to the Jurassic world, reminding us that even ancient creatures found comfort in community, moving through time, not alone, but together. The tails of small dinosaurs acted as natural balancing rods, helping them move with precision and grace across uneven terrain. As they ran or hopped over roots and stones, their tails shifted subtly from side to side, counterbalancing each quick turn or sudden change in speed. This movement was not dramatic, just a gentle sway, almost like the motion of a ribbon following behind a dancer. It allowed them to dart through dense vegetation without stumbling, maintaining perfect stability even during rapid movements. When they paused to forage, their tails rested lightly on the ground or hovered just above it, making tiny adjustments to keep their posture aligned. This built-in balancing tool gave them a playful agility, letting them navigate the prehistoric world with a lightness that felt almost bird-like, a reminder of their close evolutionary ties to modern avian creatures. The body colors of many small dinosaurs were likely soft and muted, blending harmoniously with the ancient landscapes they called home. Instead of bold, striking patterns, their tones may have resembled the gentle palette of forest floors: warm browns, mossy greens, dusty yellows, and subtle greys that caught the morning light without drawing attention. These gentle hues helped them stay hidden among ferns, shrubs, and dappled shadows, acting as a natural camouflage that favored quiet survival over display. Under the soft Jurassic sun, their feathers or scales might have shimmered faintly, revealing delicate patterns only when seen up close. These muted colors added to their peaceful presence, making them appear almost like drifting leaves as they moved. In a world filled with larger, louder creatures, their gentle coloration offered a quiet beauty, humble, delicate, and perfectly suited to the calm rhythms of their environment. Communication among small dinosaurs was likely soft and subtle, consisting of gentle chirps, whistles, and breathy calls that echoed faintly through fern forests. These sounds helped them stay connected while foraging, alert one another to mild disturbances, or simply maintain the reassuring presence of the group. Their vocalizations were not loud or harsh. They blended easily into the ambient hum of insects, rustling leaves, and warm winds. These light sounds created a calm atmosphere within the flock, allowing individuals to coordinate movement or gather their young without causing alarm. The soft, musical quality of these calls added charm to their daily routines, making the Jurassic landscape feel alive with delicate voices drifting through the understory. In this quiet communication, there was no urgency, just gentle signals, like soft whistles carried on ancient air. The nests of these small dinosaurs were carefully lined with leaves, creating a cushioned, insulated bed for their eggs. Mothers gathered soft plant material from the forest floor, arranging it in circular patterns to keep the eggs warm and protected from moisture. The leaf lining also helped disguise the nest, blending it into the natural environment so predators would overlook it. When sunlight filtered through the canopy, the leaves glowed faintly, giving the nest a warm, earthy hue. Inside these cozy cradles, eggs rested in stillness while tiny lives developed at a slow, ancien pace. Some nests were built in shallow scrapes on the ground, while others were placed at the base of trees or beneath low shrubs. Shielded from rain and wind, these leafy homes reflected the gentle instincts of their creators, careful, nurturing, and quietly devoted to the next generation. The daily life of small dinosaurs revolved around two simple tasks: finding food and avoiding the heat of the sun. They spent their mornings foraging beneath cool forest canopies, nibbling on berries, leaves, and seeds scattered across the undergrowth. As the day warmed, they retreated into shade, hiding among tall ferns or resting in shallow burrows carved into soft soil. Their movements during midday were slow and minimal, conserving energy until the air cooled again. In the late afternoon, they re-emerged to feed once more, taking advantage of gentle breezes and softer light. This quiet routine created a peaceful rhythm, one of exploration, rest, and safety. Their lives were uncomplicated and calm, shaped by instinct and the warm, steady climate of the Jurassic. Through their simple habits, they brought a subtle, endearing liveliness to the ancient world. Theropods walked far more lightly than most people imagine. Instead of thunderous stomps shaking the ground, their footsteps were controlled, precise, and surprisingly soft. Their bodies were balanced on strong, slender legs designed for efficient movement, allowing them to place each foot with care. Muscles and tendons worked like quiet springs, absorbing impact before it reached the forest floor. Even larger species, when moving at a slow walking pace, created only muted vibrations, barely enough to disturb nearby ferns. Their posture kept weight-centered, and their steps aligned in a smooth, rhythmic pattern, making their movement feel more like a glide than a march. In the warm, humid air of the Jurassic forests, their presence blended into the background, part of the natural flow of life. These predators were not chaotic monsters, but calm, calculated walkers in a peaceful ancient world. The claws on theropod feet were shaped to minimize noise and maximize control, helping them move with remarkable stealth. Instead of clattering or scraping, their toes spread weight across padded, curved surfaces that absorbed sound. The tips of their claws were sharp enough for grip, but not so rigid that they created loud impacts when touching the ground. This design allowed theropods to step across dry leaves, soft soil, or tangled roots with the quiet ease of skilled hunters. The claws worked almost like soft cleats, providing stability without sacrificing silence. Their anatomy reflected a lifestyle built on patience and careful observation rather than constant aggression. With each silent step, they navigated ancient forests with the poised stillness of creatures completely tuned to their environment. Even when they moved quickly, the sound remained muted, more whisper than roar. When theropods moved, they resembled large cats, far more than mythical beasts. Their gait was smooth, their backs held level, and their steps placed with a fluid, almost elegant precision, like a stalking tiger or a prowling panther. They conserved energy by walking softly, using short, controlled movements rather than wasteful bursts of speed. Their heads remained steady, their tails flowing behind them to maintain balance, and their eyes scanned the landscape with calm focus. They didn't thrash or stomp, they glided. This feline quality made their presence feel surprisingly natural in the ancient world, as if they were simply another part of the living forest. In still moments, a theropod could stand motionless for minutes, blending into shadows before continuing its quiet, measured walk. Their predatory grace was built on silence, not spectacle. The long tails of theropods acted as perfect counterbalances, allowing their bodies to remain steady and aligned during every movement. This tail-to-body equilibrium meant they could shift direction smoothly, stop without wobbling, and walk with a posture that seemed almost effortless. The tail extended behind them like a quiet rudder, adjusting minutely with each step to maintain stability, whether navigating uneven forest floors, stepping over fallen logs, or turning to follow a scent. The tail provided a soft, constant support. It prevented the body from tipping forward, kept the head level, and allowed the legs to move with maximum efficiency. This natural balance gave theropods their signature graceful stride, controlled, gliding, and precise. Watching a theropod walk through a mist-covered valley would have felt like watching a perfectly tuned mechanism shaped not by metal, but by millions of years of gentle refinement. Despite their reputation in popular culture, theropods did not roar endlessly or fill the forest with constant noise. In reality, they spent most of their time in near silence, conserving energy and listening carefully to their surroundings. Their breathing was steady and controlled, their movements precise, and their vocalizations rare. Instead of dramatic bellows, they likely used low-frequency calls, soft hisses, or quiet rumbles sounds that traveled short distances and didn't disturb the calm of the environment. Much like modern big cats, they preferred subtlety over spectacle. They walked in silence, observed in silence, and hunted with focused, quiet intent. The ancient forests were already filled with natural sounds, wind, insects, flowing water, and theropods slipped into this soundscape without dominating it. Their world was not one of chaos, but of quiet power, moving gently through time. A theropod's powerful senses, especially smell and sight, helped it avoid unnecessary conflict rather than seek it out. With a wide field of vision and eyes tuned to detect the slightest movement, these predators could study their surroundings calmly and make thoughtful decisions about where to walk or rest. Their sense of smell was even more refined, allowing them to detect food, danger, or other animals long before they ever came into view. Instead of charging into situations blindly, they adjusted their path gently, often choosing the quieter, safer route. This careful awareness helped keep the peace in their world, letting them conserve energy and avoid confrontation whenever possible. Their senses worked like a built-in guide, steering them gracefully through forests, open plains, and riverbanks. In this way, their strength expressed itself not through aggression, but through calm, instinctive wisdom. Theropods spent far more time walking slowly than actively hunting. Their natural rhythm was dominated by long periods of quiet exploration, wandering through forests, pausing to observe scents on the wind, or simply finding a shaded place to rest. Hunting required tremendous energy, so they saved it for rare moments when food truly mattered. Most of the day, they moved at an unhurried pace, their steps steady and relaxed, like a large cat patrolling its territory with no urgency. This slow walking allowed them to scan the environment, listen for distant sounds, and stay in tune with the landscape. Their days were not defined by constant action but by calm vigilance, shaped by the warm air, denser vegetation, and gentle cycles of ancient earth. In this peaceful rhythm, even these formidable predators felt like part of the quietness, not a disruption of it. Many theropods were primarily scavengers, feeding on carcasses left behind by other animals rather than chasing live prey. This lifestyle allowed them to avoid dangerous confrontations and conserve precious energy. They followed the faint scent of decay carried on warm breezes, arriving to feed only after nature had already completed much of its work. Their strong stomachs and specialized teeth made it easy for them to extract nutrients from remains scattered across the landscape. Scavenging also meant they played an important role in cleaning the ecosystem, preventing the buildup of old carcasses and returning nutrients to the soil. This quiet, patient way of feeding matched the gentle pace of the prehistoric world. Instead of fierce chases or dramatic battles, many predators simply wandered until they found what nature had already offered. Living in calm cooperation with the slow cycles of life and decay, large predators spent much of their time resting, often more than half the day. Like lions and tigers today, they conserved strength by lying in the shade of tall conifers, beneath rocky overhangs, or in soft patches of grass warmed by the Jurassic sun. Their breathing slowed, their muscles relaxed, and their massive bodies settled into deep stillness. Resting allowed them to regulate their temperature in the humid climate and digest food slowly. Without stress or urgency, these long resting periods made the ancient world feel quieter than we often imagine. Even formidable predators contributed to the land's sense of calm. During these peaceful stretches, smaller dinosaurs and early mammals moved freely. Knowing the giants slept nearby, the presence of a resting predator, still and serene, added to the overall tranquility, shaping a world where even danger had its quiet hours. The posture of theropods conveyed a surprising sense of tranquility. Their long bodies balanced gracefully on powerful legs, with tails extending behind them like natural counterweights. When they stood still, their silhouettes were smooth and steady, giving them a dignified calmness that contrasted sharply with the fierce image often portrayed in modern media. Their heads rested level to the horizon, their breaths slow and controlled, and their eyes focused but not frantic. This relaxed stance allowed them to blend into their environment, becoming part of the forest's stillness rather than a disruptive force. Even their subtle movements, shifting weight, adjusting their tail, or tilting their head, carried an elegance born from perfect balance. In these quiet moments, they appeared less like hunters and more like patient guardians of an ancient world, exuding a gentle, almost peaceful authority. Ferns of the ancient world grew to astonishing heights, some rising taller than modern houses. Their fronds spread outward like massive green fans, shading the forest floor with delicate, feathered leaves. These giant ferns created a layered canopy that filtered sunlight into soft, emerald tones, giving the Jurassic landscape a dreamlike glow. When the warm breeze moved through them, their long fronds swayed with a slow, rhythmic motion, as though the entire forest were breathing. Beneath their towering silhouettes, smaller dinosaurs wandered in cool shadows. Sheltered from the heat of the day, moisture clung to every surface, tiny droplets gathering on fern stems, drifting down in gentle mists, and settling on moss-covered roots. These immense plants made the ancient world feel lush and enclosed, a quiet greenhouse of living green. In their presence, time felt slower, softer, and deeply peaceful. Ancient conifer forests stretched across the land in near-complete silence, their tall, straight trunks rising like endless pillars of an old cathedral. The air beneath their branches was cool and still, carrying the faint scent of resin and damp bark. Even when winds blew across the landscape, only the highest needles rustled softly, leaving the forest floor wrapped in quiet. These conifers towered over the Jurassic world for centuries, standing patiently through countless sunrises and rainfalls. Their dense canopies filtered light into gentle beams that drifted through morning mist, illuminating drifting particles like floating dust in a vast, natural hall. Small dinosaurs moved quietly between the trunks, their steps cushioned by thick layers of fallen needles. In these silent groves, the world felt timeless, an ancient sanctuary, untouched by hurry or disruption. The trunks of ancient trees were immense, some wider than modern vehicles, casting cool, expansive shadows across the forest floor. Their bark was thick and deeply textured, shaped by centuries of growth in warm, moisture-rich air. When sunlight passed through the canopy above, these trunks broke the rays into soft stripes of gold and green, creating gentle patterns on the ground. Under their broad shade, ferns, cycads, and mosses thrived in comfortable calm, forming a quiet underworld of delicate greens. These massive trees anchored the ecosystem, providing shelter for resting dinosaurs and a stable structure for countless plants and insects. Their presence created a sense of safety, a feeling that the forest was steady and enduring. Standing near one would have felt like leaning against the memory of time itself, solid, peaceful, and impossibly old. Ancient rivers wound through the Jurassic landscape in gentle, looping curves, resembling soft ribbons laid across the earth. Their waters moved slowly, carrying reflections of towering conifers and drifting clouds on their calm surfaces. Along their banks, ferns bent toward the water, dipping their fronds into the cool currents. The sound of these rivers was subtle, a soft murmur rather than a rush, blending perfectly with the humid air. Over time, these winding paths carved graceful valleys and left behind layers of smooth stones polished by centuries of steady flow. Small dinosaurs gathered at the edges to drink, their movements forming tiny ripples that spread outward in quiet circles. These ancient waterways stitched the landscape together, connecting forests, plains, and swamps with their tranquil, meandering presence. They brought life without force, shaping the land with patience rather than power. Each year, fine sediment settled gently across the land, forming soft layers that accumulated with the passage of time. These sediments, tiny grains of sand, bits of organic matter, and mineral dust drifted through water or air before settling onto riverbeds, lake floors, and quiet forest clearings. The process was slow and delicate, like the steady fall of powdered snow. Over centuries, these layers pressed lightly together, preserving faint imprints of leaves, footprints, and small creatures. The build-up happened so gradually that it felt almost invisible, a silent recording of the world's daily rhythms. These thin layers became the pages of Earth's ancient diary, capturing subtle details of climate, vegetation, and life. Through them, the landscape held memory in soft, accumulating sheets of time that whispered stories long before they turned to stone. Jurassic rain fell warm and gentle, more like the rising steam of a natural hot spring than the sharp, cool rain we know today. Clouds were thick with moisture in the humid prehistoric air, creating showers that drifted softly across forests without wind or chill. When the droplets landed on ferns and ancient conifers, they formed shimmering beads that clung to leaves before sliding quietly to the ground. The warm rain nourished enormous plants, kept the soil rich, and filled rivers that wound like silver threads through the land. Dinosaurs, large and small, moved calmly beneath these showers, unbothered by the soothing water that washed over their backs. The forest glowed after each rainfall, steaming gently in the sunlight, wrapped in mist and warm fragrance. These rains didn't disrupt the quiet world, they deepened it, adding a soft, rhythmic heartbeat to the Jurassic landscape. The ancient wind of the Jurassic moved with surprising gentleness. Because forests were dense, filled with towering conifers, massive fers, and thick mats of undergrowth, the breeze never gathered enough force to roar or rush. Instead, it slipped between trunks and fronds in soft, wandering currents, like air drifting through a peaceful greenhouse. This light wind carried warm scents of resin, damp soil, and ancient greenery. It brushed gently against the feathers of small dinosaurs, barely lifting them, and slid quietly over the massive bodies of sauropods without disturbing their calm. Even during storms, the dense vegetation softened the impact of gusts, turning what could have been strong winds into low, steady breezes. Across the Jurassic world, the air felt hushed, warm, slow, and endlessly patient. The rustling of ancient leaves, the soft auzak of prehistoric forests, has long since vanished from the world. But imagining it brings a sense of deep, soothing nostalgia. These sounds were created by enormous fronds brushing gently against each other, by thick, leathery leaves shifting under warm breezes, and by young plants stretching toward the filtered sunlight. The forest canopy was alive with these quiet noises, never loud, never sharp, but always present, like the soft whispering of a world breathing. When dinosaurs walked through the vegetation, leaves swayed slightly in their wake, adding subtle notes to this natural music. Though those leaves disappeared millions of years ago, their imagined rustle remains one of the most calming sounds. One can picture a reminder of a peaceful world where life moved slowly beneath layers of green. The footprints of dinosaurs, though deep and lasting, were surprisingly quiet. Their padded feet sank softly into moist soil, leaving behind impressions that would one day turn to stone. Even the massive sauropods, weighing dozens of tons, walked with steps that felt muted by the thick vegetation and damp earth. Each print captured a moment, an animal pausing, shifting weight, turning its body, yet the act itself made almost no sound. These footsteps would have blended seamlessly into the forest's natural hush, unnoticed, except for the trails they left behind. Over time, rain filled the prints, leaves settled into them, and sediments covered them layer by layer, sealing the quiet moment into Earth's memory. The deep stillness of these footsteps reminds us that even giants moved gently through their ancient world. The entire Jurassic environment felt like an endless, peaceful forest suspended in time. Dense greenery wrapped the land in soft light, while mist rose from warm rains and drifted lazily among towering trees. Every sound was muted: the distant call of a small dinosaur, the slow step of a herbivore, the quiet sway of enormous fronds. Rivers glided through the landscape like polished ribbons, and layers of ferns covered the ground in deep, springy mots. Life moved at an unhurried pace, shaped by warmth, moisture, and stability. Nothing felt rushed, nothing felt sharp. It was a vast sanctuary of green, stretching across continents, breathing with slow, ancient rhythms. Standing in such a world would have felt like stepping into a timeless garden, calm, humid, and endlessly serene. Feathers began as soft modifications of simple scales, appearing slowly and subtly over millions of years. Early feathers were nothing like the structured plumes we see on modern birds. Instead, they were delicate filaments, soft, fuzzy strands that added insulation and texture to the bodies of small dinosaurs. These early feathers caught morning light like fine mist clinging to leaves, giving their owners a gentle, downy silhouette. Over time, these filaments branched and lengthened, becoming more complex as evolution experimented quietly with new shapes. The transformation was not sudden or dramatic. It was a slow layering of tiny changes, each one adding softness, warmth, or aerodynamic potential. These feathers were nature whispering that even in a world of giants, small details mattered. The earliest feathered dinosaurs likely looked endearingly fluffy, wrapped in little blankets of evolution's gentle creativity. The colors that adorned many dinosaurs served not for flamboyance, but for calm camouflage instead of bright, dramatic hues. Most small species likely wore muted tones, soft browns, mossy greens, dusty oranges, and charcoal greys that blended seamlessly with fern forests and dappled sunlight. These gentle colors helped them hide from larger predators and move quietly through their world without drawing attention. Their feathers or scales may have displayed subtle patterns, faint stripes like shadows through leaves, or mottled markings that resembled forest floor debris. In the warm glow of the Jurassic sun, these quiet colors softened their shapes, making them appear almost like moving pieces of the landscape itself. Evolution favored harmony over spectacle, creating creatures whose beauty lay in their gentle ability to blend, not boast. The arms of many small dinosaurs evolved into light, flexible limbs capable of graceful, efficient movement instead of thick, heavy forelimbs suited for combat. These dinosaurs possessed slender, agile arms that allowed them to grasp branches, stabilize themselves, or help adjust balance while running. Over generations, these arms grew lighter and more mobile, eventually supporting feathers and early flapping motions in some species. These movements were not powerful enough for true flight at first. They were gentle, testing Hesturus, like a child, waving their arms in a soft breeze. The evolution of these limbs happened gradually and quietly, shaped by small advantages gained through flexibility rather than strength. These early, feathery arms introduced a softness into the dinosaur world, hinting at the elegant creatures that would one day take to the sky. Despite popular images of dinosaurs as colossal beasts, most species throughout their history were actually quite small, many no larger than chickens, turkeys, or medium-sized dogs. These diminutive creatures darted through undergrowth, nested beneath shrubs, and blended easily into ancient forests. Their small bodies allowed them to move with a quick but gentle agility, dodging predators and finding food with minimal disturbance to their environment. Being small also meant using less energy, allowing them to thrive in shaded, nutrient-rich areas where giants rarely ventured. Their presence filled the Jurassic world with a soft, lively quietness, like the subtle fluttering of birds in a modern forest. These tiny dinosaurs showed that the age of dinosaurs was not dominated only by giants. It was also shaped by delicate, nimble beings who lived peaceful, hidden lives. Many dinosaurs developed horns, crests, or decorative frills, not as weapons, but as gentle displays used to attract mates or communicate with one another. These structures came in graceful shapes, arched ridges, curved plates, or elegant fans of bone that rose from their skulls like natural sculptures. Their purpose was often visual rather than confrontational, helping individuals identify members of their species or signal their health and maturity. Some crests might have amplified soft calls, creating resonant notes that carried through forests without being loud or aggressive. Although these features looked dramatic, they served calm social functions, turning dinosaurs into living artworks shaped by quiet evolutionary pressures. In the soft light of ancient mornings, these horns and crests would have appeared beautiful, gentle ornaments in a peaceful world. The legs of many dinosaurs were beautifully optimized for light, efficient movement. Their bones were arranged in a way that acted like natural shock absorbers, reducing impact and allowing them to glide over the landscape with surprising ease. Tendons stretched along their limbs like quiet springs, returning energy with each step and minimizing effort. Even larger species benefited from this design, walking with a gentle rhythm that was more fluid than forceful. The structure of their hips, knees, and ankles allowed for smooth strides, helping them maintain balance on uneven terrain. These adaptations made their movements feel more like gentle pacing than heavy stomping. In the warm, humid air of the Mesozoic, their footfalls blended softly into the natural hush of the forest, proving that even creatures with impressive size could move with a delicacy shaped by millions of years of quiet refinement. The skulls of many dinosaur species contained hollow spaces, natural air pockets that dramatically reduced weight without sacrificing strength. These cavities made their heads easier to lift, turn, and balance, especially for species with long necks or elaborate crests. Instead of being heavy burdens, their skulls became light frameworks, supported by intricate bone structures. This airy design allowed for more efficient feeding, faster reaction times, and gentle, graceful movements of the head. Some cavities even connected to respiratory systems, helping regulate temperature and maintain airflow. The result was a skull that felt almost buoyant, floating lightly atop the neck, like a carefully balanced lantern. These hollow spaces reflected evolution's subtle craftsmanship, showing how nature shapes strength, not through heaviness, but through thoughtful, weightless design. A dinosaur's tail functioned like a soft, flexible balancing rod, adjusting with each movement to keep the entire body steady. When they walked or turned, the tail acted as a gentle counterweight, shifting subtly to maintain equilibrium. This quiet adjustment allowed them to move with smooth coordination, whether navigating dense forests, stepping over roots, or running across open plains. The tail's structure, strong at the base and gradually tapering, gave it both strength and fluidity. It swayed softly behind them, following the motion of their hips with a calm, rhythmic flow. In many species, this tail was essential for balance during quick movements, acting almost like a tightrope walker's pole. This simple yet elegant function created a sense of harmony in their posture, allowing their bodies to move like well-tuned natural instruments in an ancient, breathing world. Evolution unfolded in the age of dinosaurs with extraordinary slowness, like the turning of a vast, ancient wheel. Changes occurred gradually across millions of years. Tiny shifts in bone structure, slight variations in feather patterns, small improvements in balance or digestion. Each adjustment was a gentle step in a long, quiet journey toward shapes that fit their environments more comfortably. This slow pace meant that no generation witnessed dramatic transformation. Instead, life adapted softly, almost imperceptibly. Forests, climates, and coastlines shifted in their own slow rhythms, guiding the evolution of the creatures living within them. In this deep timeline, evolution was not a dramatic leap, but a patient sculptor, shaping life with subtle, persistent care. The world of dinosaurs moved at the tempo of geological time, steady, circular, and endlessly calm. Every dinosaur form was nature's gentle experiment in balance and harmony, whether small and feathered or large and long-necked. Each species represented a unique solution to living in the ancient world. Curved claws, slender limbs, lightweight skulls, expansive tails, each adaptation fit seamlessly into the soft choreography of forests, plains, and swamps. Their bodies were shaped not for chaos, but for coexistence with their surroundings. Some forms emphasized grace, others efficiency, and many combined, both in ways that seemed almost artistic. These shapes were guided by quiet pressures, climate, vegetation, safety, and energy. Over millions of years, nature refined these designs with remarkable thoughtfulness, resulting in creatures whose movements felt gentle and purposeful. In every curve, every feather, every footprint, there was a silent search for harmony with the earth beneath them. Most dinosaurs spent the majority of their days simply eating and strolling, living lives far quieter than we often imagine. Their routines unfolded in slow, steady cycles, grazing on soft leaves, wandering toward new patches of vegetation, and pausing to rest beneath tall trees. These gentle activities filled their daylight hours, allowing them to conserve energy in warm prehistoric climates. Whether large or small, herbivores followed calm paths through forests and open plains, their footsteps soft against ferns and ancient soil. Even predators, when not hunting, walked without hurry, surveying their surroundings in unhurried loops. This daily rhythm created an atmosphere of peaceful movement as groups of dinosaurs drifted across the landscape like living currents. Life was not frantic, it was patient, settled, and in harmony with the slow turning of the ancient earth. Dinosaurs often spent midday resting in shaded areas where the air stayed cool and comfortable. After hours of gentle grazing or wandering through humid forests, they retreated beneath conifer canopies, fern thickets, or rocky overhangs to escape the intense afternoon sun. Here, they stood or lay quietly, breathing slowly as the heat settled over the land. The shade offered relief, allowing their large bodies to regulate temperature, while insects buzzed softly around them. Even the giant sauropods paused during the warmest hours, lowering their necks and relaxing their muscles. These quiet, midday moments were essential for their well-being, tiny oases of stillness in the rhythm of their day. In these shaded refuges, time seemed to slow further, and the world felt wrapped in a gentle, green, calm. Many dinosaurs lived in herds, finding comfort and safety in the presence of others. These groups moved with a natural coordination, feeding together, resting together, and migrating through ancient landscapes in soft, flowing lines. The herd provided shared awareness, allowing individuals to relax without constantly scanning for danger. This collective calm created a peaceful atmosphere where members felt supported by the presence of their companions. Young dinosaurs learned from adults, while adults relied on the group's many senses to navigate the world with confidence. Herd life wasn't chaotic or loud. It was a quiet, cooperative existence, shaped by instinct and gentle social bonds. Watching a herd pass through a misty valley would have felt like observing a river of life, steady, unified, and deeply serene. Caring for their young was a common behavior among many dinosaur species, revealing a gentle, nurturing side to animals, often thought of as fierce. Parents guarded nests, warmel eggs, and guided hatchlings through the earliest challenges of life. Some stood watch while others searched for food, returning with soft vegetation or leading little ones to safe water sources. Hatchlings huddled close to adults, learning their surroundings through calm observation. These acts of care created small pockets of tenderness within the vast prehistoric world. Even larger dinosaurs showed protective instincts, shielding their young with their bodies or forming circles around them during rest. This devotion added warmth to the ancient landscape, proving that life in the age of dinosaurs was filled not only with survival, but with quiet, enduring affection. Baby dinosaurs moved with a playful lightness, darting through ferns and hopping over roots with the energy of modern chicks. Their small bodies, feathered or scaled, were agile and curious, exploring their world with bright eyes and quick steps. They chased insects, nudged fallen leaves, and practiced balancing with flapping arms or wiggling tails. Their movements were soft and endearing, tiny bursts of motion that brought a lively charm to the ancient forests. Adults watched quietly nearby, allowing the young to explore but stepping in if danger approached. These joyful moments added a gentle liveliness to the prehistoric world, like sparks of sunlight dancing across the forest floor. In their innocence and enthusiasm, dinosaur hatchlings made the ancient earth feel warm, hopeful, and full of quiet wonder. Some dinosaur species likely slept together in groups, arranging their bodies in gentle clusters to share warmth through the cool prehistoric nights. By resting close, they created pockets of comfort where body heat lingered, protecting hatchlings and smaller individuals from sudden temperature drops. These shared, sleeping circles resembled the calm behavior of modern birds and mammals, with individuals leaning lightly against one another or curling their tails to form a soft barrier against the breeze. Their breathing slowed, rising and falling in quiet unison as the forest darkened around them. Safety also increased in numbers, allowing some to sleep deeply while others remained lightly alert. In these peaceful gatherings, the ancient world felt almost like a quiet village, settling in for rest, soft, warm, and carried by the simple comfort of being together. Dust bathing was another gentle behavior many dinosaurs likely enjoyed, rolling or shifting their bodies across dry soil to keep their skin, feathers, or scales clean. This soft ritual removed pests, dried moisture, and coated their surfaces with a fine protective layer. The motion was unhurried, small kicks, slow rotations, and clouds of powder drifting upward like tiny misty clouds in the sunlight. These dust baths also created shared moments of calm, with several individuals participating together as others watched nearby. Afterward, they shook off the excess dust the way birds do today, releasing a soft, earthy plume. It was a simple form of self-care in a world without haste, showing that even enormous animals had quiet ways of tending to their well-being. Each dust bath left them refreshed and more comfortable as they continued their peaceful routines. Dinosaurs often sensed upcoming weather through their natural instincts, relying on subtle cues in wind, humidity, and light long before storms arrived. They noticed shifts in air pressure and responded calmly, searching for shelter under trees, cliffs, or dense vegetation. Their heightened awareness allowed them to move with the rhythm of their environment, adjusting their habits just as modern animals do today. When rain approached, they slowed their pace and gathered near drier areas. When cool winds blew through the valleys, they positioned themselves to capture warmth from sunlight. This sensitivity helped them live in harmony with the ancient climate, flowing with its changes instead of resisting them. Through these gentle reactions, dinosaurs showed an intuitive connection to nature, a quiet understanding woven into their daily lives, allowing them to thrive in a world guided by sky, wind, and seasons. Despite their size and strength, most dinosaurs were gentle creatures that preferred avoiding conflict. Many evolved features not for battle, but for display, communication, and peaceful coexistence. When confronted with danger, they often chose to move away slowly rather than fight, relying on group awareness or simple distance to stay safe. Their lives centered around feeding, resting, and raising young, activities that required calm, not aggression. Even carnivorous species conserved energy by avoiding unnecessary disputes, interacting with one another through subtle signals and careful spacing. This widespread peacefulness shaped the atmosphere of prehistoric landscapes, where large animals moved quietly beside smaller ones, without constant tension. The ancient world, though filled with giants, often resembled a tranquil countryside where each species flowed through its routine with patience and restraint, letting harmony guide their choices. Daily life in the age of dinosaurs followed a gentle, steady rhythm, much like a quiet countryside. Long before human history, mornings began with soft movement, grazing among ferns, singing insects, and dew shimmering on ancient plants. Afternoons unfolded in warm stillness as herds wandered through open clearings or rested beneath towering trees. Evenings brought cooler breezes, calling animals back to familiar paths and comfortable resting spots. This calm cycle continued day after day, shaped by sunlight, weather, and instinct rather than urgency. Nothing hurried, nothing rushed. Life expanded and settled at a pace set by nature itself. Watching this world from afar, it would feel serene and timeless, as if the land breathed slowly through each passing moment. Dinosaurs lived within this soothing rhythm, their lives woven into a peaceful pattern that stretched across millions of years. Feathers first appeared not for flying, but for warmth, soft, delicate structures that wrapped early dinosaurs in a gentle, insulating layer. These primitive feathers trapped heat close to the body, allowing small species to stay warm during cool nights and shaded forest hours. At first, they resembled fluffy down or wisps of fiber, drifting lightly in the breeze as their owners moved. Over time, feathers became more refined, forming patterns and layers that protected skin and helped regulate temperature. In this early stage, feathers were simply tools of comfort, allowing creatures to rest more deeply and survive in a changing world. The soft rustling of these warm coverings added a new texture to prehistoric landscapes, introducing the first hints of the avian future to come. In their quiet utility, feathers marked the beginning of one of evolution's most graceful transformations. The earliest attempts at flight were not majestic leaps into the sky, but small, gentle hops from branch to branch. Early feathered dinosaurs tested their new limbs with curiosity rather than urgency, stretching their arms and allowing air to flow through the soft veins of their feathers. These tentative jumps resembled playful trials, as if they were simply experimenting with lightweight bodies and shifting balance. Each hop taught them how wind felt beneath their arms, how feathers responded to motion, and how a slight lift could ease their landing. Over countless generations, these gentle tests became longer glides, then controlled descents, and eventually brief flights. But in the beginning, everything was soft, slow, and full of quiet discovery, tiny whispers of a future where the skies themselves would become home. As time passed, the bones of these early feathered dinosaurs gradually became lighter and more flexible. Hollow spaces formed within them, reducing weight while maintaining strength. This change didn't happen suddenly. It unfolded over millions of years, each generation carrying slightly more lift, slightly more balance, slightly more ease in movement. These lighter bones helped them climb trees, leap farther, and glide more smoothly through forest canopies. The transformation was subtle but profound, shaping bodies that felt almost airy, designed for gentle motion. What began as sturdy, ground-dwelling skeletons slowly shifted into frameworks ideal for lightness and grace. In this slow evolution, you can almost imagine the quiet sound of soft bones, adapting, refining, preparing for a life where air, not earth, would carry them forward. As feathers improved and bones lightened, bodies themselves began to shrink, becoming more compact and agile. Smaller size meant better maneuverability, easier lift, and greater efficiency in gliding or hopping between branches. Over ages, these creatures grew more delicate, their movements more refined, and their silhouettes more bird-like. Shrinking didn't weaken them. It opened new worlds, new behaviors, new possibilities. They could perch on thinner branches, explore higher levels of the forest, and escape predators with simple leaps. This scaling down process made their forms elegant and light, perfectly tuned for gentle flight. What emerged was not fragility, but harmony, a body shaped by air, balanced by feathers, and guided by the soft logic of evolution. Each new generation carried a quieter, more refined version of the ancient dinosaur blueprint. Feather colors slowly became tools of communication, helping these early bird-like dinosaurs connect with one another. Soft patterns of browns, golds, and muted reds signaled safety, maturity, or calm intention in shaded forests. Feathers caught gentle light, creating subtle glimmers that could guide young animals toward parents or signal peaceful presence within a group. These colors were not meant to intimidate, they were quiet messages, delicate cues woven into the fabric of their lives. As pigments improved, feathers shifted with iridescent sheens or faint blends, mirroring early sunlight that filtered through ancient trees. With every movement, these colors whispered small stories, reassurance, recognition, and belonging. Through these soft visual signals, early birds and feathered dinosaurs communicated without sound, building harmony in their world through gentle hues and calm displays. Wings did not appear suddenly, they began as simple balancing motions. Early feathered dinosaurs used their arms to steady themselves while running up slopes, hopping across branches, or adjusting their weight on uneven ground. With each movement, their feathers caught the air just enough to give a slight lift, making balance easier and steps lighter. Over time, these small, instinctive motions grew more coordinated and graceful. The muscles along their arms strengthened, their shoulders became more flexible, and each sweep of their limbs felt more like the early promise of flight. These balancing gestures formed the foundation of wing evolution, gentle, functional, and entirely natural. In this slow transformation, the first traces of true flight were not dramatic leaps, but quiet adjustments of posture, shaped by the soft touch of wind and the gentle rhythm of ancient forests. Before they could fly, feathered dinosaurs learned to flap their arms, feeling how air pushed back against each motion. These early flaps were not attempts at soaring, they were simple experiments, movements born from curiosity or instinct. Some flapped while running, gaining small bursts of stability. Others flapped while climbing or jumping, discovering how feathers created lift. Over generations, these experimental motions became stronger and more rhythmic. Muscle adapted, joints rotated more freely, and feathers aligned in ways that caught air more efficiently. This stage of evolution was full of quiet practice, like a child learning to move with new confidence. Through countless gentle repetitions, flapping became a language of its own, a precursor to true flight. Unfolding softly over millions of years, the first bird-like songs were likely simple, ancient sounds, soft calls, carried through Triassic and Jurassic forests. These early vocalizations helped individuals find one another, warn gently, or reassure their young. As voix evolved, tones became clearer, pitches more varied, and melodies more expressive. What we now think of as birdsong began as subtle notes drifting between trees, blending with rustling leaves and distant footsteps. These sounds formed emotional connections within groups, adding warmth to their daily lives. Over time, these gentle calls became more complex, turning into the songs we hear today. But at their core, they were always ancient whispers, echoes of the first birds exploring a new form of communication. rooted in softness and quiet continuity across ages. As flight slowly emerged, eyes adapted to read the sky with growing precision, vision sharpened, depth perception improved, and colors became clearer. Early feathered dinosaurs began noticing subtle movements in the air, distant shapes against the clouds, and the changing positions of the sun. Their eyes grew lighter, yet more powerful, able to process quick shifts in motion and track patterns in the wind. This change allowed them to glide more confidently, navigate tree canopies, and recognize safe pathways from above. Watching the world from higher vantage points, they discovered new sources of food, shelter, and safety. In this transformation, sight became not just a tool, but a gentle guide, helping them align their bodies with the sky in ways that felt natural, effortless, and deeply connected to their evolving form. The entire transformation from dinosaur to bird was one of evolution's most graceful poems, slow, delicate, and filled with quiet beauty. Feathers borrowed warmth before becoming wings. Bones hollowed gently, bodies lightened, and movements refined into airy gestures. Each generation carried small changes, subtle improvements that shaped creatures ever more adapted to the sky. Nothing about this shift was violent or abrupt. It unfolded like soft verses written across millions of years. What began as grounded animals wandering through fern forests eventually became beings capable of rising into the air, following wind paths and sunlight. This transition felt like nature composing its own masterpiece line by line, feather by feather, until the first true birds finally lifted themselves into the prehistoric dawn, completing a transformation as calm and poetic as the turning of time itself. A fossil is never just a rock. It is a soft imprint of a life that once moved through an ancient world. When a creature fell asleep forever beneath layers of mud or sand, its shape slowly merged with the earth around it. Over millions of years, minerals seeped into its bones, replacing them grain by grain, until the memory of its body became solid stone. Yet the feeling remains delicate, as if the fossil still carries a whisper of warm sunlight, the rustle of ferns, or the quiet heartbeat of a distant ecosystem. Holding a fossil is like touching a moment preserved across unimaginable time, a gentle reminder that even lives long gone can leave traces that comfort and connect us. These stone memories are not loud, they are soft echoes, patiently waiting to be found. Fossilized bones keep their shape for millions of years by undergoing a slow, careful process called mineralization. Water rich in dissolved minerals fills tiny spaces within the bone, replacing fragile organic material with sturdy stone. The shape of the original bone remains intact, preserved with astonishing detail, ridges where muscles once attached, smooth curves that supported weight, and delicate hollows that once held air or blood. Even though the living tissue is long gone, the form that remains is gentle and familiar, almost tender in the way it holds memory. These stone bones lie quietly beneath layers of earth, waiting through eons until erosion or careful hands reveal them again. They are like long-forgotten letters from creatures who once walked under a younger sun, their shapes unchanged, despite the rise and fall of continents. A fossilized footprint is one of the softest kinds of memories nature can hold. It begins with a single moment, a dinosaur walking across wet sand or muddy ground at dawn. The ground firms, sediment fills the print, and over countless seasons, the simple depression turns to stone, What remains is not just the shape of a foot, but a snapshot of a morning long lost its direction, its speed, even its mood. A slow, deep print might show a creature wandering calmly. A series of light steps may hint at play or curiosity. These footprints feel incredibly intimate because they capture movement rather than bones. They are echoes of a passing moment etched into the earth, reminding us that even the smallest actions can leave marks that endure beyond imagination. Ancient tree bark preserved in stone appears like a carved painting, soft patterns of grooves, ridges, and textures frozen in place. These fossilized impressions tell us about forests that once stretched across warm valleys, where towering conifers and giant club mosses rose into humid air. When a tree fell and became buried beneath sediment, its outer surface pressed gently into the surrounding material, creating a natural mold. Over time, this mold hardened, leaving behind a delicate imprint that looks almost like fabric woven by time. Touching such a fossil feels like brushing fingers across the skin of a vanished forest, sensing the quiet shade and slow-growing life of plants that lived millions of years before the first birds. Tree bark fossils remind us that even silent, unmoving beings can leave soft, beautiful records of their existence. Ancient spores and pollen, preserved within layers of rock, are among the tiniest fossils in the world, yet they carry enormous stories about Earth's past climate. These microscopic grains settled into lakes, rivers, and muddy plains, becoming sealed away as sediments compressed into stone. When studied today, their shapes reveal which plants lived in those ancient landscapes, how warm the seasons were, and even how much rainfall touched the ground. They are small, quiet time capsules, each one a soft whisper of a forest long gone. Though invisible to the naked eye, they trace the rise and fall of ecosystems, the movements of winds, and the slow breathing of the planet across ages. In their delicate forms, these ancient pollen grains hold memories more detailed and gentle than any written record could ever preserve. Fossils often reveal how quietly dinosaurs once moved across their ancient world. The spacing of footprints, the depth of each step, and the delicate impression of toes all show that many species walked with surprising gentleness. Even large dinosaurs left prints that suggest slow, steady rhythms rather than heavy stomping. Their soft footpads cushioned each step, and the moist earth of their environments preserved these impressions as subtle, rounded outlines rather than sharp, forceful marks. When scientists study these tracks, they see not a world of violent movement, but one of calm, wandering creatures strolling through fern-filled valleys or along riverbanks in the cool light of morning. These gentle steps capture a peaceful truth. Even giants knew how to move softly across the land that carried them. Some fossils preserve the faint traces of feather pigments, offering glimpses of the colors that once adorned ancient creatures. These microscopic pigment structures, called melanosomes, became trapped within the mineralized feathers and retained hints of reds, blacks, browns, and even soft iridescent sheens. Though the hues are subtle, they suggest that many feathered dinosaurs had muted, calming patterns, earthy tones that blended with forest light or soft colors used for gentle communication. Seeing these pigments frozen in stone feels like discovering the quiet memory of a sunset reflected on ancient feathers. These preserved colors bridge millions of years, whispering how creatures once looked beneath the warm, hazy skies of the Jurassic and Cretaceous worlds. Fossilized nests reveal tender glimpses of how dinosaurs cared for their young, Many nests show carefully arranged eggs, placed in gentle circles or shallow bowls scraped into the earth. Some even preserve the fine textures of plant material used to cushion and warm the eggs. In a few rare cases, fossilized adults were found positioned protectively over their nests, suggesting they guarded their offspring, much like birds do today. These quiet scenes, captured forever in stone, remind us that ancient worlds were filled with nurturing behaviors, soft rhythms of feeding, guarding, and teaching. The fossil nests echo a timeless truth: care, warmth, and family bonds have always been part of life on Earth. Long before humans ever arrived, entire eras of Earth's history are preserved in serene layers of rock, stacked gently over millions of years. Each layer holds its own climate, its own life forms, its own soft signature of time passing. Some layers record calm lakes where mud drifted down like settling snow. Others capture quiet forests where fallen leaves were pressed into soft patterns. Still, others hold ash from distant volcanoes, settling silently over the land. When these layers are viewed together, they form a peaceful archive of ages long gone, moments of warmth, seasons of rain, ancient rivers, and slow-moving worlds. Rock strata are nature's soft timeline, built slowly and patiently, marking the quiet breath of the planet across deep time. A fossil is like a silent journal that Earth has written for itself, page after page, preserved in stone. Each one tells a story without sound: the shape of a creature's bones, the outline of a leaf, the ripple of an ancient shore, or the trace of a footstep taken under a different sky. These journals contain no words, yet they speak volumes about life's resilience and evolution. They remind us that every moment, no matter how small, leaves an imprint on the world. Fossils lie quietly until discovered, then gently reveal stories of worlds lost but never forgotten. In their stillness, they connect us to the deep, unbroken memory of our planet. Dinosaurs existed for an astonishingly long time, so long that the entire span of human history feels like a brief whisper by comparison. For more than 160 million years, they lived across forests, deserts, coastlines, and plains, adapting gently to shifting climates and drifting continents. Their presence was not hurried, it was calm and steady, woven into the rhythms of an Earth that was much younger and warmer. Generations of dinosaurs rose and fell, but the world they moved through changed slowly, like breathing in deep time. When we imagine their age on this planet, we don't see chaos, we see longevity, patience, and quiet endurance. Their long existence feels like a soft reminder that life can last for ages when it moves in harmony with its surroundings. Dinosaurs lived far longer than any vertebrate lineage that came after them, spanning epochs and surviving events that reshaped the planet. While mammals, birds, and later humans are newcomers to Earth's story, dinosaurs thrived through countless changes, shifting oceans, new plants, wandering continents, and evolving ecosystems. Their bodies adapted gracefully to each new environment, and their world remained peaceful most of the time. They weren't rushing through existence, they simply lived, generation after generation, under warm skies and soft rains. Their longevity was not defined by dominance, but by steady presence. When we consider their timeline, it feels less like a reign and more like a quiet, enduring chapter of life. that flowed gently across millions of years. The end of the dinosaurs did not begin with sudden destruction. It started quietly. Over thousands of years, climate patterns shifted. Volcanic ash dimmed the sky in soft layers, and ecosystems changed slowly, gently, almost imperceptibly at first. Many species were already declining, long before the final impact arrived. Their world dimmed as seasons grew harsher. Food source dwindled, and forests changed shape. And then, suddenly, everything quickened. A cosmic event completed the unraveling that had begun long before. Yet even in this ending, there is a calm truth. Their disappearance was part of the planet's long, slow breathing, influenced by forces far greater than anything alive. The world they knew slipped away not in a shout, but in a long exhale. Though dinosaurs vanished, the world they left behind remains soft and beautifully preserved in stone. Their footprints, nests, bones, and impressions lie frozen in time beneath quiet hills, riverbeds, and cliffs. These fossils hold the gentle shapes of ancient lives, curved ribs, delicate feathers, the outline of a resting body. Even the sediments they walked upon have kept the memory of their weight and movement. The landscapes they once travelled still whisper hints of their presence. Smooth river stones shaped in their era. Layers of clay formed beneath their steps. Forests growing atop ancient floodplains. Their world may be gone, but its texture lingers in the earth. Calm and patient, like a memory too soft to fade. Birds today carry the final breath of the dinosaurs. Their bodies shaped by the same ancient lineage. Every flap of a wing echoes the early feathered creatures that once hopped among Jurassic trees. Hollow bones, gentle songs, curved claws, and warm feathers all trace their origins back to distant ancestors who lived long before. When birds glide through morning light or sing at dusk, they bring forward the quiet legacy of dinosaurs, not the fierce giants of stories, but the soft, feathered beings that evolved slowly and gracefully. In every bird call is a faint echo of a prehistoric world. Their presence is a reminder that dinosaurs never entirely vanished. They simply transformed into something light, gentle, and woven into the sky. Every feather on a modern bird is a living memory of evolution, an echo of a transformation that began millions of years ago when small dinosaurs first grew soft coverings for warmth. Each feather carries the same branching structure, the same delicate barbs and veins that once lined the bodies of ancient creatures, exploring new ways to move and survive. When birds preen their feathers or let them rustle in a gentle breeze, they are tending to a legacy shaped by time itself. These feathers may be light, but their history is immense, reminding us that evolution often works through softness rather than force. Every plume you see today is a quiet continuation of the dinosaur story, carried forward in the most graceful form nature ever wrote. Ancient forests that dinosaurs once walked through have turned to stone, yet their stories remain gentle and clear. Petrified wood holds the patterns of bark, the rings of slow growth, and the silent shapes of trees that shaded entire ecosystems. These fossil forests whisper of warm rains, soft winds, and creatures wandering beneath towering trunks. Though millions of years have passed, the textures remain unchanged, like pressed memories of a world forever in twilight. When we find these fossilized trees, we aren't discovering destruction, we're discovering preservation. The earth held onto these forests tenderly, transforming them into lasting monuments of peace. The story they tell is not dramatic but serene. Life once flourished quietly here, and time itself chose to remember it. Dinosaurs are often imagined as roaring monsters. Debut fossile reveal, agent les truth. They were simply animals moving, feeding, resting, raising young, and finding their place in nature, just like any other living creature. Their lives were shaped by daily rhythms rather than constant conflict. Many walked softly across fern-covered ground, browsed leaves in silence, or tended nests with dedication. Even predators spent most of their time resting, conserving energy, or quietly observing their surroundings. When we picture them as peaceful beings rather than fearsome giants, their world becomes softer, warmer, more connected to the same natural balance that guides life today. Dinosaurs were not monsters. They were chapters in the long story of nature, written in calm, deliberate strokes. The planet still carries the marks of dinosaurs in its landscapes. Riverbeds they crossed have hardened into layers of stone. Cliffs reveal the sediments where they once left footprints. The shape of continents, ancient shorelines, and long-lost forests all hold traces of their presence. Even the birds perched on modern branches carry the architecture of their ancient relatives. The world has changed countless times since dinosaurs lived. Yet, their influence remains, like faint brushstrokes beneath a painting, subtle but always present. Mountains rise, seas shift, forests return, but somewhere beneath your feet, there is almost always a layer of earth touched by creatures from that distant age. Their story is woven into the planet itself, carried quietly across time, and when you close your eyes, the ancient world of dinosaurs becomes even easier to imagine. You may hear the soft rustle of fern leaves, the distant call of a feathered creature, or the faint rhythm of steps moving across a warm forest floor. These imagined sounds are gentle, nothing like the thunderous roars of fiction. They are whispers from a world long gone, drifting through your mind like memory. In these quiet moments, the boundary between now and then fades, and the earth feels timeless again. As your breath slows, you may sense the soft presence of the past, comforting and distant, reminding you that all life, from giants to sparrows, moves in cycles of emergence and rest. The footsteps you imagine are light, calm, and far away, guiding you gently towards sleep. Thank you for wandering through this ancient world tonight. As the last of these 100 gentle truths settles in your mind, let the echoes of the prehistoric earth soften into something warm and steady inside you. You've walked beneath towering ferns, heard the faintest whisper of feathered wings, traced footprints left millions of years ago, and felt the calm presence of creatures who moved through life with patience and quiet purpose. This world, though long gone, still breathes in subtle ways in fossils, in birds, in landscapes shaped by their passing, and now it rests gently within you too. Dinosaurs may feel distant, but the peaceful rhythms of their world still flow across our planet. The forests they walked through became the soils we grow food in. The rivers they crossed carved valleys we now call home. The soft patterns of their behavior, nurturing their young, wandering in groups, moving with calm steps, are mirrored by animals alive today. Life has always followed the same slow, steady heartbeat, and tonight, that rhythm is here to help you rest. As you lie there, let yourself imagine the quiet hush of a Jurassic sunrise, Picture warm mist drifting between ancient trees, the air thick with the scent of moss and early light. Imagine a slow, gentle breeze brushing through fern leaves, carrying the distant footsteps of a sauropod moving peacefully across the horizon. Nothing rushes, nothing demands. The world simply turns, soft and slow, as it has for hundreds of millions of years. Think of how long dinosaurs lived on this planet, how many mornings they saw, how many nights they rested beneath stars that still shine above you now. Their world moved slowly, shaped not by chaos but by balance. Insects humming in the shade, small feathered dinosaurs rustling quietly through undergrowth, giant herbivores exhaling warm air into forest mist. Even predators spent most of their time resting, listening, conserving energy. Life was calm far more often than it was fierce. And now, that calm belongs to you. Let it wash through you like warm, ancient sunlight. Let it loosen your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. Your breath does not need to be deep, just soft, steady, drifting in and out like the tide of time itself. Imagine the deep earth beneath you, holding entire ages of history in its layers, fossil forests asleep in stone, riverbeds that once held wandering herds, nests tucked into sediment, still arranged in gentle circles. These memories are all around you. Even if invisible, the ground below carries billions of years of patience. And tonight, it supports you in the same steady way. You are part of this ancient continuity. You are part of the long story of Earth. And just like every life before you, you are allowed to rest. If you're still awake, take a moment to tell me where you're listening from tonight. Your words help other dreamers find their way into this quiet space. But if your eyelids are already growing heavy, you don't need to say anything at all. Just breathe. Just drift. Let the final traces of the ancient world fade softly into darkness. Let your thoughts quiet, one by one, like footprints disappearing under falling leaves. Let sleep come to you the way evolution came to life, slowly, naturally, without effort. The world is calm, you are safe, and tonight, the footsteps of the ancient earth guide you gently into rest.